Sarah paced the confines of her dimly lit room, the patter of rain against the window echoing her tumultuous thoughts. Outside, a storm unleashed its fury, casting shadows that danced eerily across her walls. She felt like a caged bird, trapped in the solitude of a life that often felt too big and too overwhelming to bear. The walls leaned in closer, suffocating her with an omnipresent loneliness that gnawed at her insides. It was during these dark moments, when the world outside raged with thunder and lightning, that Sarah felt most vulnerable. She was the girl who always seemed to have it all together, a facade she meticulously maintained at school, with friends, and even with her family. But deep down, a flicker of desperation lurked, an urge to let someone in, to share her burdens and the heartache she never spoke of. Just then, a familiar voice broke through the tempest outside her mind. "Hey, Sarah! Are you in there?" It was Jake, her stepbrother, his tone both casual and hopeful. The sound pulled at her, igniting a spark of warmth amidst the cold darkness that surrounded her. As she opened her bedroom door, a gust of wind whipped past her, colliding with the warmth of Jake's presence. He stood there, drenched from the rain, his tousled hair sticking to his forehead. He carried an unmistakable charm, even in his soggy state. "Mind if I come in? This storm is a killer." His eyes twinkled with mischief, even as raindrops dripped from his chin. Sarah hesitated for just a heartbeat, the weight of loneliness reminding her of why she had closed herself off. But in Jake, she sensed a unique understanding, a connection that tethered them together in a world that often felt isolating. "Sure, come in," she said, stepping aside. As he settled onto the edge of her bed, their closeness created an atmosphere thick with unspoken words. The quiet familiarity between them was comforting, a silent promise that they were safe in each other's presence. It wasn't just Jake she let in, it was the semblance of belonging that she had been yearning for. The storm rumbled outside, but in that moment, Sarah finally felt a flicker of hope. "What brought you here?" she asked, attempting to mask the tremor in her voice. Her heart raced at the absurdities of her thoughts, wondering if Jake could sense her inner turmoil. Jake shrugged, a playful grin crossing his face. "I figured you might be lonely. It's a perfect night for a horror movie marathon, right?" He flashed her a wink, igniting a warmth in her chest. With the world outside spiraling into chaos, they nestled into a cocoon of comfort, retreating into the fantastical worlds of their favorite horror films. As each shadow flickered across the screen, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that there was something subtly shifting between them, an electric tension that was both thrilling and terrifying. "We should probably get some snacks," Jake suggested, breaking her reverie. "Popcorn, maybe some candy?" "No horror movie is complete without junk food!" As Sarah jumped up to retrieve the snacks, she could feel Jake's eyes following her, an intensity in his gaze that made her heartbeat accelerate. Was it her imagination, or was there something deeper brewing beneath the surface of their playful banter? They settled back onto the bed, the flimsy blanket stretched between them serving as a fortress against the storm raging beyond the walls. They laughed and screamed at all the right moments, but beneath the laughter lay an undercurrent of something unsaid, an understanding that they were both seeking refuge in each other. As the movie flickered to life, Sarah's thoughts drifted to the layers of their relationship. What began as a simple step-sibling arrangement had morphed into something much more profound. In Jake, she found someone who knew her fears, her joys, and her quirky sense of humor. And somehow, amidst the snarky jokes and playful rivalry, her heart was beginning to recognize that this connection transcended mere siblinghood. "Did you ever think about how we ended up here?" Jake asked suddenly, breaking the laughter with an unexpected seriousness. "You know, like, how strange it is to share a house with someone who isn't really family." Sarah's heart raced at his words. "I guess I have. Sometimes it feels like we just kind of fell into this family." She glanced over at him, searching his face for signs of judgment or hesitation. Instead, what she found was a mirror reflecting her own curiosity and uncertainty. "Yeah, like we've created our own little world within this bigger one," Jake replied thoughtfully. "But it can also be kind of lonely, can't it?" In that moment, they were not step-siblings, but two young souls sharing their vulnerabilities. "Lonely," she echoed, the weight of the words settling heavily between them. "I know the feeling all too well." He met her gaze, and Sarah felt something shift in the air, a blend of understanding and uncharted territory. "It's nice to talk about it, though," he said softly. "It's like you make sense of it together, you know?" The storm howled outside, a howling symphony that perfectly mirrored the revelations spilling from their hearts. Their laughter faded, replaced by an enveloping silence filled with unspoken connections. It was cathartic and terrifying all at once, revealing an unbreakable bond they had built layered with the complexities of family, friendship, and undeniable chemistry. Time drifted by unnoticed as they shared confidences, their walls crumbling beneath the steady rhythm of the rain. Sarah could feel herself opening up in a way she hadn't anticipated. She spoke of her dreams, her fears of failure, and the suffocating weight of expectations that often felt unmanageable. She shared moments of feeling invisible, surrounded by people but still feeling utterly alone. "And then there's you," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "You make it easier being here with you." A soft, understanding smile broke across Jake's face, and she could see the sincerity in his eyes. "I get that. I thought moving here would be great, but sometimes I just want to scream. It's like I don't fit in anywhere." They both took a moment, letting the truth of their confessions linger in the air, creating an unspoken pact between them. In that intimacy, Sarah felt something deep and raw connect with Jake's sense of belonging, a shared loneliness that they could finally address together. Just when it seemed they were about to delve deeper, a loud crash echoed outside, causing both of them to jump. Jake's laughter broke the tension, and Sarah couldn't help but chuckle with him. "Guess horror movies really do heighten your senses." "Exactly, but we're safe here, right?" He leaned in closer, his laughter infectious. And for a moment, the fears that had shackled her faded into the background. In that room, filled with the sounds of a raging storm and their laughter, Sarah felt the most alive she had in a long time. She was no longer that lonely girl in a big house. She was someone who had let someone in, embraced the chaos, and discovered the warmth of companionship amidst the storm. As the night wore on, and the rain continued to pour, they created a sanctuary. Two souls coming together to weather the storm of life, proving that sometimes, allowing someone in could illuminate even the darkest corners of the heart. Secrets and confessions. As the storm finally eased into a gentle drizzle, Sarah found herself lying awake in her bed, replaying the events of the previous night. The laughter, the honesty, it felt strangely liberating, yet terrifying. Jake had slipped beneath her defenses, infiltrating the walls she had meticulously constructed. What next? What did it mean for them? The next morning, rays of sunlight broke through the lingering clouds, illuminating the room in a warm, golden glow. The warmth felt like a reprieve from the shadows that had encased her last night. Despite the early hour, a sense of newfound hope lingered in the air. The chaos had turned into a quiet calm, giving her a courage she hadn't known she possessed. After breakfast, she found Jake in the living room, flipping through channels. He looked up and grinned, a playful sparkle in his eye. "Want to join me for some intense research on the best horror movies? I think we could conduct a pretty thorough study." Sarah laughed. "You mean we're going to binge-watch more horror movies?" "Of course. It's our duty to perfect our craft," he declared with mock seriousness. As the two settled in, the laughter came easier, masking the underlying tension that still persisted. They watched one film after another, with Sarah occasionally stealing glances at Jake. Each time, she felt a jolt of electricity course through her, igniting butterflies in her stomach. Something deeper was at play between them, and the weight of it both thrilled and terrified her. But it wasn't all light-hearted banter. Between the laughter and jump scares, the conversation shifted. Between films, they started to share more of their fears and hopes. "You know," Jake said thoughtfully during a rare quiet moment, "I think everyone has this idea of who they're supposed to be. But sometimes, it's hard to match that image with who you really are." Sarah felt her heartbeat quicken, his words resonating deeply. "I've struggled with that. I feel like I have to pretend, especially at school. There's this pressure to fit into a mold." She sighed, vulnerability pouring from her heart. "I often feel like I'm acting in a play instead of living my life." Jake nodded knowingly. "Yeah, I get that. It's exhausting. Sometimes I just want to break free from it all and run away." Their eyes locked for a fleeting moment, and Sarah could sense a connection forming, a bond forged in shared experience and longing for authenticity. In that small silence, everything felt amplified, the hum of the television, the distant sound of rain tapping against the window, the unspoken words hanging between them like a fragile thread. But just as Sarah began to feel comfortable with this burgeoning connection, the mood shifted as her phone buzzed on the coffee table. It was a message from Lily, her best friend. "Hey, missing you at school. Let's meet up later?" For a heartbeat, Sarah hesitated, feeling the tug-of-war between the familiarity of her old life and the new, exciting space she was discovering with Jake. "It's Lily," she informed him, her voice wavering. "Go," Jake urged, an unexpected flicker of disappointment shadowing his features. "You shouldn't feel like you have to cancel your plans for me." Sarah felt a pang in her chest at the thought of leaving, but the words hung in the air, unspoken jealousy swirling just beneath the surface. "I don't know. Maybe I could just stay here with you?" Jake gave her a soft smile, but she could see the hint of longing in his eyes. "I mean it. I don't want to hold you back from your friends. We can always binge-watch later." With a reluctant sigh, Sarah replied, "Okay, I'll go." There was a moment of hesitation before she continued. I'll be back soon." The drive to her school felt different. The vibrant trees and bustling streets seemed dull compared to the warmth she had experienced in Jake's presence. She shook off the unsettling feeling, reminding herself that her friends were important too. Yet there was a sense of incompleteness nagging at her, a hollow echo that accompanied her as she met Lily. When she arrived at their usual cafe, Lily was already waiting, her usual bright smile lighting up her face. "You're late. I thought you were going to leave me hanging in my time of need," Lily exclaimed, folding her arms dramatically. "Sorry, I had some things to sort out," Sarah replied, hoping to sidestep any probing questions. Once seated, they fell into the familiar rhythm of chatter and laughter, but as Sarah sipped her latte, her mind kept drifting back to the connection she had forged with Jake. It felt so alien, yet exhilarating, but she had left it behind for this. "Okay, spill," Lily interrupted her thoughts. "What's going on with you? You've been acting weird lately more than usual." Sarah felt her stomach lurch. "What do you mean?" "I don't know, you just seem different. Are you okay? Is it about Jake?" The question hung in the air like a heavy weight. Her heart raced. What could she say? Did she really understand what was happening between them? "It's just complicated. You know how moving in with him was," she replied cautiously. "Complicated how?" "He's a good guy," Lily probed, leaning forward with interest. "But he's also your stepbrother. I mean, how do you even navigate that?" Sarah felt heat creeping up her cheeks. "It's not like that now. We're just friends. Friends who happen to be related." "Sort of." Lily raised an eyebrow, unconvinced. "But it seems like there's more bubbling under the surface. I see the way you both look at each other. Gosh, just admit it." A torrent of emotions swelled within Sarah, fear, embarrassment, and excitement all vying for attention. What if I do have feelings for him? What does that even mean? Is it wrong? Panic bubbled beneath the surface. "I mean, we're family, sort of." Lily's expression softened, her voice becoming gentle. "Having feelings for a stepbrother isn't wrong. It's complicated, yes, but so is life. You shouldn't ignore what you feel. Just be careful not to rush into anything." An uncomfortable silence fell between them as Sarah's mind raced. How could she explain the tumultuous thoughts swirling in her head when she didn't fully grasp them herself? "It just scares me," she admitted softly, her hands trembling slightly. As they continued to talk, Sarah's mind drifted, often returning to Jake. Was there really something brewing beneath the surface? The warmth of his presence now felt like a lighthouse guiding her through the fog of confusion that engulfed her. Could she allow herself to embrace those feelings? Eventually, the encounter with Lily came to a close, and Sarah left, her heart heavy with conflicting emotions. She drove home, her thoughts a whirlwind of possibilities, anxieties, and what-ifs. But underneath it all lay an unwavering need to put all the pieces of her life together, especially the complicated, beautifully chaotic ones that involved Jake. As she entered her home, she found Jake sprawled on the couch engrossed in a video game. His focus was intense, yet he looked up with a smile as she walked in. The sight of him washed over her like a comforting wave, but that familiarity brought about a rush of anxiety as well. "Hey, I thought you got lost or something," he teased, grinning broadly. "What's with the long face?" Sarah felt a flutter in her chest. Should she share her feelings with him? Would it ruin what they had? "Just thinking," she finally replied, but couldn't help the nervous energy that accompanied the admission. Jake tilted his head, eyes wide with curiosity. "What about?" Taking a deep breath, she stepped closer, wrestling with her emotions. "About us. About what we talked about last night." A flicker of surprise crossed his face, and Sarah could almost feel the weight of words hovering in the air between them. "I was thinking about that too," he confessed slowly. The moment hung heavy with tension as their gazes intertwined. It felt as though both were trying to uncover the uncharted territory they had begun to tread. "Maybe we're not just friends," Sarah murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I don't want to complicate things more than they already are." Jake's expression turned serious. "I get that. But what if it's already complicated? What if we can make it work? We understand each other more than anyone else. Maybe that's enough." Time stood still as the storm clouds gathered once more. This time not outside, but within. Each heartbeat felt like a drum roll, leading to something profound. She felt herself inching closer to a realization, a beautiful, terrifying notion that they could exist outside the lines that society had drawn for them. Before they could explore the weight of those words, a crack of thunder echoed outside, breaking the spell that had formed between them. But as they both laughed nervously at the interruption, Sarah knew that their connection had weathered a storm. It was fragile, yet powerful, unified against the chaos of their lives, and in the sanctuary of that stormy night, beneath the sheets of uncertainty and promise, she realized that letting him in wasn't just about companionship. It was about forging a bond that could withstand the darkest storms. The ice cream incident. The days rolled into one another, and with each passing moment, the bond between Sarah and Jake grew stronger. Yet, as they navigated the delicate balance of friendship and something more, an unshakable tension loomed in the air, thick and palpable. It was as if they were standing on the edge of an unknown abyss, peering down into the depths of their feelings and fears. The sun shone fiercely one Saturday afternoon, a stark contrast to the gloomy days that had preceded it. Sarah, feeling restless, paced around the house, yearning for some excitement. She could sense that Jake felt it too. "Let's do something spontaneous. Ice cream run?" she proposed, her eyes twinkling with enthusiasm. Jake raised an eyebrow, grinning. "You know ice cream is always a yes in my book, but we should make it interesting. Let's hit 2 places and see who can pick the best flavor." Sarah laughed, delighted by the challenge. "You're on, but I have to warn you my taste buds are unbeatable." Their banter flowed easily as they hopped into the car, driving down winding roads to their favorite local spots. Laughter filled the air, punctuated by playful jabs and competitive spiritedness. But as they drove, an undercurrent of something deeper thrummed below the surface, stirring excitement and apprehension alike. Arriving at the first ice cream shop, they eagerly hopped out, ready to dive into a sea of flavors. The vibrant colors of the ice cream greeted them, each scoop more enticing than the last. "Okay, I'm going for chocolate mint, the ultimate classic," Jake announced confidently, flashing a teasing smile. Sarah rolled her eyes dramatically. "Mint, really? I'm going for something daring, lavender honey." They laughed as they chose their flavors, bantering pleasantries as they waited with anticipation. But beneath the cheerful banter, a tension sizzled just below the surface, a reminder of the unsaid words that lingered between them. With their cups in hand, they continued to the park, each of them searching for a perfect spot to enjoy their treats. As they settled onto a bench, the warmth of the sun enveloped them like a comforting embrace. "So, how does yours taste?" Jake asked, teasingly. "Delicious. In case you were wondering," she replied, savoring the delicate combination of flavors on her tongue. As she glanced at him, the playful rapport melted into a moment charged with something more. Jake stared intently at her, his eyes glimmering with mischief. "Bet you can't take a bigger bite than me." "Oh, you're on." With that challenge issued, Sarah dove into her cup, taking an exaggeratedly large bite of her ice cream. She felt silly and giddy. Something about this moment felt electric, and she could sense Jake's eagerness too. Just as she triumphantly swallowed her bite, A loud bark broke the air, startling both of them. They turned to see a small dog, a little golden retriever, running toward them, wagging its tail furiously. "Hey, buddy," Jake exclaimed, kneeling down to greet the energetic pup. Sarah laughed as the dog bounded closer, clearly unfazed by the strangers, its tongue lolling out in joyful excitement. But then, as if on cue, the dog suddenly darted out into the street, startled by a passing car. "Watch out!" Sarah yelled, her heart racing as she instinctively jumped to her feet, adrenaline surging through her veins. "Jake!" In an instant, Jake sprang into action, chasing after the dog. Panic gripped Sarah as she watched him bolt into the street, but she felt an overwhelming urge to follow. "Get back here," Jake called as he dashed after the pup, determined to prevent it from running into traffic. Sarah's heart pounded as she rushed behind him, fear mixing with resolve. The world around them blurred as they chased the tiny creature, their ice cream forgotten in the midst of the chaos. Just when it seemed like they might not catch up, Jake lunged and managed to scoop the pup into his arms just in time. "I got him," he shouted, his breath coming in gasps, relief flooding his features as he cradled the squirming golden ball of fur. Sarah caught up, her heart still racing. "You okay?" she asked, breathless. "Yeah, just a bit winded. But look at this little guy." Jake grinned, the dog licking his face in enthusiastic gratitude. The mood shifted from panic to laughter as Jake and Sarah crouched together, admiring the little creature. "What do we do now? Should we find its owner?" Sarah mused, glancing around. "I think we should call the animal shelter or something. This is one adventurous pup." Jake laughed, his eyes radiating with joy. But even amidst the excitement, an electric energy lingered between them, an awareness that had solidified through shared adrenaline and partnership. After a few frantic phone calls, they learned that the puppy didn't have a collar and likely had wandered away from its home. "Looks like we're its temporary guardians," Jake said, his voice light, though his eyes sparkled with something deeper, something that hinted at their uncharted territory. As the day progressed, they took the puppy to find a patch of grass in the park, letting it run free and explore. They named him Lucky, considering how fortunate they felt to have saved him from danger so quickly. "Isn't it funny?" Sarah mused as they watched the pup tumble around. "We let this little guy into our day, and now he's changed everything." Jake nodded, a thoughtful expression on his face. "Yeah, it's like we've just gained a new little adventure buddy." But Sarah could sense that this moment was more than just lighthearted fun. The afternoon sun bathed them in warmth, and as they laughed and played, she felt the weight of their relationship shifting once more. The love and camaraderie they had formed over icy cool treats and spontaneous dog rescues deepened her understanding of what they could be. Despite the complexities surrounding their lives, hours passed like fleeting shadows as they bonded with Lucky, every laugh and affectionate word bringing them closer. Yet, amidst their budding friendship, there was a nagging tension simmering beneath their easy connection, one that both of them could feel. It hung in the air when their hands brushed against each other while reaching for the puppy, or in the sometimes lingering looks that passed between them. As dusk began to fall, a quiet awareness settled in, a recognition of the feelings they had both been tiptoeing around. "Maybe we should take him to the shelter now," Jake finally suggested, breaking the silence, though his voice hinted at reluctance. "Yeah, it's probably for the best," Sarah replied softly. As they made their way back to the car, a familiar sadness filled the air. A quiet acknowledgement that Lucky had unexpectedly drawn them closer together, and now they would have to let him go. Arriving at the shelter, waiting for someone to help them check in the puppy, the weight of unspoken words was palpable again. Sarah's heart ached as she looked down at the little creature, snuggled close in Jake's arms. "Thanks for today. It was the best," Jake said, his voice laden with sincerity. "You know, it feels like we've known each other forever." "Yeah, it does," Sarah replied, her pulse quickening. "You're different, Jake. I mean that in the best way." He met her gaze, something sparking between them, an unshed tension wrapping around them like a heavy blanket. "I like it too, being here with you. It's like we've created our own little world." Just then, a staff member approached and the moment shattered. "Oh, hey, you must be here with the golden retriever," she said cheerfully, kneeling down to greet Lucky. What's his name? Lucky, Jake answered, still looking at Sarah, a wistful smile upon his lips. Something shifted in the air, and as they handed Lucky over, Sarah felt an overwhelming sense of loss alongside an intricate weave of connection and understanding. It was as if today had been a burgeoning adventure, with lingering touches and fleeting moments, all coming to an end. As they stepped away, leaving Lucky in the shelter's care, the weight of unspoken thoughts lingered between them. Let's not let this be the end of our adventures, Jake said quietly, breaking the silence. Yes, definitely not. This was just the beginning. Sarah felt a thrill race through her at the thought. Their bond was evolving, both exhilarating and terrifying all at once. The drive home felt different, charged with a sense of possibility that neither had dared to fully articulate. In the quiet, they shared knowing glances, and as they neared home, Sarah knew deep down that their connection was on the brink of something significant. And as the sun set behind them, draping the sky in hues of pink and gold, they were both left wondering how much longer they could keep skirting around the edges of their feelings before the moment arrived to plunge headfirst into the depths of their shared emotional storm. The video game challenge, the days sped by, and as summer reached its peak, Sarah and Jake found themselves in an exhilarating rhythm. Their playful banter intensified, intertwined with moments of shared vulnerability that strengthened their bond. Yet lingering between them was the unshakable tension of unspoken feelings that hung like a storm cloud, threatening to break. One lazy Saturday afternoon, the heat seemed to melt the world outside, making it impossible to venture into the sun. "We need an indoor adventure," Jake declared, his eyes glinting with mischief. "What about a video game challenge?" "Game on!" Sarah shot back, exhilaration bubbling within her. The prospect of a chaotic showdown felt refreshing. It summoned competition that could push aside the heavy, unspoken questions looming in their hearts. They set up in the living room, surrounded by snacks and drinks, the colorful game consoles glimmering enticingly in the glow of the TV screen. As they booted up their favorite game, a mythical fantasy adventure where players could battle creatures and conquer kingdoms, the air crackled with excitement. "Prepare to lose, my friend. I've been training for this," Jake grinned, his fingers expertly tapping buttons as he prepared his character. "Oh, please, that crown is mine," Sarah shot back, determination lighting her eyes. They dove into the game, clashing swords and casting spells with fervor. Laughter filled the room as they reveled in playful trash talk and unexpected turns. But beneath the surface, a subtle tension simmered, and Sarah felt acutely aware of Jake's presence beside her. Each victory felt sweeter, but the stakes were higher than just a simple game. As they battled fiercely, Jake leaned in, their elbows brushing against each other. "This is too easy," he teased, a smirk plastered on his face. "What happened to all that bravado earlier?" Sarah's heart raced, a mixture of competitive spirit and something more potent surging through her. "Just you wait. I haven't even revealed my secret weapon yet." Their characters clashed again, and as stakes rose in the game, so did their anticipation. But in moments of quiet between battles, it was harder to ignore the flickers of something uncharted, a quiet intimacy that deepened as they shared knowing glances and laughed at each other's defeats. At one point, the game paused, and they found themselves distracted by each other's laughter. "Okay, you really think you can take me?" Jake asked, challenging her with an eyebrow raised. "Oh, I know I can," Sarah shot back, her confidence swelling. "You just wait. I've got a strategy you wouldn't believe." As they resumed, the tension shifted noticeably as Sarah's character executed a surprise move, defeating Jake's avatar in a blur of pixels. "Victory! I am the queen of this realm," she proclaimed, jumping up in excitement. Okay. Best out of 3? Jake proposed, the spark in his eyes both playful and serious. "I refuse to accept defeat this easily." "Fine, but prepare yourself." Sarah laughed, feeling adrenaline rush through her. They dove deeper into their gaming spree, the competition seamlessly charging the air with its playful intensity. Hours passed, but the world outside faded away until only the two of them. The game and the flickering screen existed. With each match, Sarah felt the walls of uncertainty surrounding her grow thinner, and she reveled in the feel-good energy that enveloped them. It was a euphoric escapia, careful distraction from the weight of their underlying connectivity. Finally, as they prepared for the last round, Sarah turned to Jake, playful yet sincere. "Loser has to do whatever the winner says for a whole day. Deal? Deal!" Jake shot back unflinchingly, his competitive spirit alight. They locked eyes, the stakes suddenly feeling heavier. The air hummed with charged tension. The moment felt like a turning point as they immersed themselves in the final battle. The match unfolded like a high-stakes thriller, and as victory drew closer, Sarah's palms became clammy. She focused intently, her heart racing as the screen glowed ominously with numbers counting down to the final seconds. And in that electrifying moment, everything changed, sending shocking tremors across their dynamic. With one last strategic move, Sarah's character defeated Jake's, winning the match. Euphoria surged through her as she shouted, "Yes! I did it!" But Jake's expression transformed from delight to something uncertain. "I can't believe it. You actually beat me," he said, his tone shifting as he turned serious. "I did." "I'm the champion!" Sarah cheered, but then began to feel the weight of the stakes. "So that means I get to pick your punishment, right?" "Right," Jake replied, his gaze unwavering as he wiped a hand through his hair, tension sparking uncomfortably between them. "What do you want me to do?" Suddenly, a thought flickered into Sarah's mind, bold and daring. "You have to take me on an actual adventure. Something spontaneous and wild, no excuses." Jake blinked, taken aback. "Like now?" "Yeah, right now." "Let's do something crazy." "What do you have in mind?" he asked, the thrill of the unknown lighting his eyes. "I've always wanted to explore that old abandoned amusement park just outside town. It's supposed to be haunted." The words spilled out of her before she could filter them. The adrenaline was intoxicating. This would push them into uncharted territory. Jake stared at her for a moment, weighing the suggestion. "The haunted amusement park? Isn't that a bit reckless?" "Exactly. That's the point." "Come on, it'll be fun." Sarah's excitement bubbled over. After a long pause, Jake nodded slowly, a grin breaking across his face. "Okay, let's do it." They both packed their bags, the excitement palpable in the air as they jumped into the car, ready for an adventure that would take them beyond the limits of their routine. The drive was filled with a mix of anticipation and playful chatter, but as they neared the amusement park, an unsettling feeling crept in. The buildings loomed in the distance, remnants of a bygone era draped in shadows that stretched ominously in the dim light. The air shifted palpably, pulsing with tension. "Are you sure about this?" Jake asked, his voice laced with both trepidation and thrill. "Absolutely. We came all this way. Let's explore," Sarah replied, trying to mask the flutter of nerves in her stomach. As they parked and stepped outside, the world around them felt electric, the wind teasing their hair and sending shivers down their spines. The entrance loomed ahead, a rusty gate creaking eerily in the wind. It felt like stepping into a different realm, a labyrinth of nostalgia entwined with mystery. "Okay, last chance to back out," Jake said, half joking but with an undertone of seriousness. "No way. Let's go," Sarah insisted, feeling her heart race with both excitement and fear. They pushed through the gate, releasing it from its rusted hinges. The air was thick with dust and the scent of nature reclaiming what had long been abandoned. Overgrown weeds curled around rusty rides, and faded signs creaked with the slightest touch. "Are you ready for some haunted thrills?" Sarah teased, her adventurous spirit igniting as she glanced back at Jake, who was scanning the surroundings cautiously. "Ready as I'll ever be," he breathed, falling into step beside her. As they moved deeper into the park, shadows flitted past their vision, occasionally catching the corner of their eyes. Tension twisted the air and Sarah felt goosebumps rise along her arms. "Did you hear that?" she whispered, panic rising. Jake stopped, turning to her. "What? You're not scaring me, are you?" "Seriously, I thought I heard something," she insisted, her heart pounding. "Probably just the wind," he reassured her, though his eyes sparkled with nervous energy. In the distance, an old carousel stood eerily still, its paint peeling and mirrors cracked. Against the backdrop of dusk, it looked both beautiful and haunting. "Let's check that out," Jake suggested, stepping forward bravely. As they approached, the ride felt more alive than it should have. "This is creepy," Sarah admitted, feeling a chill run down her spine as she examined the intricately carved horses, their eyes gazing outwards, hollower than ever. Suddenly, a low creak echoed from behind them, causing both of them to jump. Jake swung around, his instincts kicking in. What was that? "Probably just an old board," Sarah said quickly, though her heart raced. The shadows seemed to press closer, wrapping around them. "Maybe we should," Jake started, but his words caught in his throat when a loud crash sounded from the heart of the park. "Did you hear that?" she whispered frantically. "Yeah," he replied, low and intense. "Let's check it out." As they navigated through the dilapidated park, trepidation clung to them like mist, obscuring their courage. They reached the source of the sound a toppled sign that had likely succumbed to age, but around it, the air felt charged, thick with uncertainty. "I'm beginning to think we should leave," Jake said, shifting uneasily. "Wait, just a little longer," Sarah urged, her curiosity piqued. "Let's go to the funhouse next. It'll be fun." With a hesitant nod, Jake followed her deeper into the heart of the park. But each step felt heavier, as if an impending storm brewed in the air. They reached the funhouse, its faded mirrors casting warped reflections that twisted their forms into grotesque silhouettes. "This is so creepy," Jake murmured, but there was an eagerness beneath his apprehension. Stepping inside, laughter and screams from long ago echoed in the warped hallways. The mirrors framed images of jagged grins, and shadows danced across the walls. But within the darkness, it felt like someone was watching that oppressive feeling intensified. "Is it just me? Or does this place feel alive?" Sarah said, a nervous laugh escaping her. "More like haunted," Jake replied, scanning the corners. As they traversed through the disorienting turns, a sudden loud thud echoed through the mirror maze, sending shivers down their spines. "What was that?" Jake whispered, wide-eyed. "I don't know," Sarah breathed, her heart racing. They turned simultaneously, but the hallway revealed nothing but darkness and dilapidation. "Let's get out of here," Jake said urgently, but as they moved back toward the entrance, the mirrors warped into confusing shapes, distorting their reflections. "Wait, where did we come in?" Sarah asked, panic creeping into her voice. "I think it was over there?" Jake hesitated, his gaze darting around. Just then, the thudding noise echoed once more, closer this time. "We have to move now." Jake grabbed her hand, urgency propelling them forward. They raced through the twisting mirrors, adrenaline pumping through their veins as they searched for the exit. Shadows loomed, and every creak felt as if the very walls were alive, closing in on them. Finally, they burst through the door, gasping for breath. Outside, the night air hit them like a refreshing wave, and the haunting memories of the funhouse faded slightly. Yet, the weight of unspoken emotions pulled heavily on their hearts. "That was insane," Jake commented, still catching his breath. "Right? But I didn't think it would be that intense," Sarah replied, her heart still racing from both fear and thrill. The moment hung heavy with tension, but beneath the fear lay a turning point. They turned to each other and began to laugh, their fear transforming into exhilaration. "Okay, so, what's next?" Jake asked, his voice low and tantalizingly close. For a moment, everything felt charged not just with the lingering fear, but with the connection that had grown deeper today. It was as if they had crossed a threshold, one where they could no longer ignore the powerful magnetism pulling them together. "Let's go to the Ferris wheel," Sarah suggested, hoping to revitalize the mood while navigating the unexplored territory of their emotions. They made their way to the Ferris wheel, the skeletal structure towering over them. As they climbed into one of the rickety gondolas, the world below shrank, the park stretching before them, dimly lit by the moonlight. "Wow," Jake breathed, a mixture of awe and apprehension in his voice. "It's even creepier from up here." "Usually I'd say it's supposed to be romantic," Sarah quipped, the tension crackling between them. "And yet," Jake said, his voice low and steady, "the only thing I'm feeling is, well, you." Sarah's breath caught in her throat as she met his gaze. The world below faded further, leaving only the two of them suspended in the air. Jake. In that moment, they both felt the ground shift beneath them as the carousel of emotions spun wildly. They teetered on the edge of something monumental, a connection that had grown beyond their expectations. But before they could explore any further, a sudden violent shake jolted the gondola, and the world darkened beneath the shadows of the ominous park. "Did you feel that?" Jake exclaimed, eyes wide with fear. "Yes! What's happening?" Sarah cried, feeling the intensity of the moment elevate. The Ferris wheel lurched again, and Sarah's heart raced as they swayed precariously. But even in the chaos, there was a recognition of vulnerability that they had both been avoiding. The moment hovered on a knife's edge, waiting for the inevitable plunge into the unknown. As they clung to each other, chains rattled with a ghostly sound, echoing through the darkness. And in that terrifying instant, they both knew something had to give. "Sarah, whatever happens, we can face it together," Jake said, finally breaking through the fear that enveloped them. "Yes. Together," Sarah echoed, their shared determination standing strong against the tempest around them. And as they faced the darkness, something more powerful bloomed between them, a recognition of their feelings, the understanding that sometimes taking that leap into uncharted territory was exactly what they needed. The Ferris wheel began to spin faster, the world below whirling in chaos as the storm within their hearts broke free, setting the stage for the emotional climax they had both been silently waiting for. Would they embrace the adventure awaiting them, on and off the wheel, as they took their relationship to new heights? The night held endless possibilities, and beneath the unknown, they both understood they were on the brink of something extraordinary, no matter what awaited them under the haunted skies of their abandoned adventure.